Right, now I'm also reminded of some other cases. I have also parents, not just, we're not talking just lovers or spouse. I have parents who used to be beaten a lot when they were young because it's the Afghani culture that, the parents can always beat, especially the women, beat them to work. And so when they grow up, all they know is to be beaten. And even though they love their children, when suddenly they are triggered, certain sound triggers the trauma that they had, triggers the trauma of having the husband die in front of their eyes, then they would be so agitated, and suddenly they start to beat their children. They would be beating with belts. They would be beating, with all sorts of things they can use. They love their children so much. But because in trauma, the person looks for familiarity, there is still
Exactly.
something. There's just something that is waiting to be resolved. And that's why this template of life, being beaten, comes back to the person. And this person reenacts it without knowing it. And suddenly the children become victims. And that's how trauma is passed to the next generation.
Right, exactly true. So I work with, we do have several cases that we work together, right? So how we get to know each other, and how I get to know that he does not watch K-drama, because we work a lot with different cases, and all we talk, I've never heard him talking about K-drama. I'm still taking it in.
I changed.
You changed.
I grew.
People change. Right. So we have several cases. Kevin is handling the parents, the family dynamics. I'm handling some of the children's as well. So I do have some cases as well where children are severely experiencing trauma. And I also have a children as well coming from a foster care. So she has been adopted by a very beautiful, very caring family. And then we were doing therapy. So she will come to a point like we'll be playing, and suddenly he will go and stand up, and it's like, I'm not playing anymore. Or he can just stand up and just push me away. Or maybe she can go like, she throw the things away, and she go like, I don't want to play anymore. Like, this is not fun. I want to play something else, and you have to follow me. And then when I was not this aware with that, it seems like it's a behavior issue. But then talking about familiarity. So what we study as in traumatology, they create a neural pathway, which is the familiarity in our brain is whenever that I'm having fun, I start to trust other people, things are not going well. And I do not want that to happen. So that's the first thing, like how they protect themselves. And the second thing is because I am familiar that I'm always beaten. So this very person in front of me not beating me is strange. It creates the anxiety in their brain that, why is this person is not hitting me? I need that familiarity. So rather than he is not hitting me, or she's not hitting me, or this auntie, this miss, this coco, or this chichi is not hitting me. So I need to hit him, that he comes back and hitting me, and that familiarity created again, and I can feel safe. Right. So for those children who experience trauma, it's really hard. And then talking about how it affects the relationship, it's not only affecting their relationship with their spouse, it affects how they relate with themselves. When they experience, I am always beaten, that I'm always being said that you are ugly, you are not smart, that's what we call that. Okay, so that's me. I'm not pretty, I'm ugly, or you are just so not lovable. So when there is someone in our later age, when we grow as an adult, and then there is someone who loves us, truly loves us, we take it as, no. This is strange. This is not working. This is unsafe. This is not familiarity. But if people say that I'm ugly, oh yes, okay, matches, like that's a puzzle. Like they always think that they are ugly, they are just worse, things are just getting bad. And when that truth comes, it just matches like a puzzle. See how dangerous it is. Like the wounds and the pains are not visible.
Right. And it reenacts itself. It just kind of repeats and repeats, and people don't know about it. And I observe also in adults or in children, people's functions get affected. People start to complain, I forget everything. I cannot concentrate. When I teach, some of the clients teach other refugee people, and they would be like, I forgot, I cannot. And they miss appointments. They said, this is not me before. I used to remember things. I can concentrate. I can listen to you. But when I listen to you, I have headache. So this is also the effect of trauma. When unattended, unprocessed, it sort of, it builds up inside. And you spend so much energy dealing with it that you have no more resources to perform your daily functions. We call them executive functions. I bet it happens in children. And normally it gets diagnosed as maybe oppositional defiant disorder or something else, or ADD, ADHD.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first time that I got into trauma cases is because I noticed, and I've been looking at the research about trauma, and then it's very, very interesting that there are functional fMRI, functional MRI between autistic children with autism, and for those children with trauma. They have a very, like you said, they have executive dysfunctions, absolutely. They cannot prioritize things because they have never seen being prioritized. And then their brain function, their neural is just not growing as it is supposed to be. They cannot do time management. They have a very challenging time to actually emotionally regulate themselves, because they cannot see that. They do not see the role model. They see the role model at home. When I get angry, when I get anxious, I hit. So that's how I learn as well. So exactly right. And then their anxiety. Oh my goodness. There's a lot of research talking about, go and search, or maybe friends who are watching, just Google trauma and anxiety. Trauma and dismissive avoidant attachment. That's a huge difference, because your brain, when you experience trauma, your brain is in survival mode. Just like what you share, right? When you are going to go back to Hong Kong, you will see that 14 days of quarantine, your survival. How am I going to get food? Who is going to take care of me? How am I going to wash clothes? Where am I going to stay? And all those survival things are just on the top of the mind. We call that, every time people reliving that traumatic event, is called amygdala hygiene. You're just on your survival skills, you're on your reptile skills, so you just don't, and then absolutely your prefrontal cortex is just shutting down. That's why the executive functions is not working well. So there's a lot of things happening when we just thought, oh, trauma. You just sleep.
Right.
You rethink about, oh, that's a lot more thing happening in trauma, right?
Just like your experience, the moment was frozen in time. You were doing something else, and suddenly you were caught by those memory of far behind when you were in the Netherlands. I have clients when they were sleeping, that their unconscious can tell them something, because when you're sleeping, your conscious is a little bit more subdued. So your unconscious come. And that's when the panic attacks happen. People have nightmares, and people describe things as if they experience it now. So what they experienced it when they were 7-year-old, when they saw how their brother got killed in front of them, the same experience, the same sensation, the same guardedness, the same anxiety, the same fear was frozen in time and just come back 14 years later, or 20 years later in your dream. And that person was so panic stricken that the hands locked, cannot move, and go numb, and it takes 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or 45 minutes for the person to be able to, slowly wake up and try to sense what is happening. And at that time, I advise him, you have to ground yourself, look around and check out what you see. Maybe name 3 things you see. Name 3 sounds you hear. And just slowly breathe in and out so that you are here. You were not back then when you were 7, 12, when those horrific events happened.
Right. I mean, bring it down to less severe cases when we talk about how it affects relationship. When you have those traumatic events, or maybe you've been beaten when you were young and experienced that complex trauma. How do you see that happens with your client, with less severe cases, Kev?
I would see sometimes for example, the husband would severely doubt himself and become more and more withdrawn. So one thing is, the wife would be really hoping to do something to cheer him up, but you never can make the person happy because the person is losing self-confidence, is changing, something is dying within them. And that's why they cannot engage, even though, you see there are many things, worth celebrating now, but you cannot catch the joy. And that's why, when this trauma is not processed, people just cannot enjoy the love that is in front of them with their spouse or with their children. So this is one way I can see.
Right, exactly. So I've experienced a friend that have shared with me that he is experiencing trauma. So when there is something that he needs to celebrate, he will just go and celebrate, and then suddenly he would say, okay, that's enough of celebration. I think I got too excited. This is not right. And I go like, why? Why is it not right for you to feel happy? No. This is enough. I feel happy enough. And then the more that I talked about it, and the more that he shared, he experienced that the mother shared with him, if you want to be happy, you just be happy for a little bit, because there will be sad times coming very soon. So I mean, like, those are the things. First is also the mindset that has been put by the parents to the child. And then also, number 2, I would say the parents having that traumatic event living in her, that she experienced that this is not okay, that this is not right. Always living in an anxious mode. So you're always anxious. Either you're anxious, it can be anything, and it can be very creative in quote unquote. It can be very creative. It can be like any single movement from the spouse or the partner. Kamu punya cowok lain ya? Kamu selingkuh ya? Kamu telepon siapa? All those things is like, who are you going out with? Why are you going out with him? Why are you always texting him? And every day, it's not because he or she wanted to do that to the partner, but it's also because they are always living in a constant on guard. I need to be on guard, because they are reliving that experience all over again. So
and maybe even number 3, they're not just on guard, but they have these outbursts. So all of a sudden, people do just little things. I mean, maybe it could be annoying or even not, but that person just acts on it. You said the wrong thing, and that person just get triggered, and boom, and they will put all the whatever hurt on the insults onto that person. And sometimes you just cannot trust these people anymore. What did I do? What did I do to deserve it? And that's why, when people are affected by trauma, they cannot get intimate. They are always suspicious. And sometimes they have these outbursts that they cannot control. And they don't even know. After it, they regret so much. But the next time, they do it again.
Emotionally triggered. Easily triggered.
Right.
I think now that you're saying it, I'd love to share with my followers as well, with my friends, how I am also, even as a psychologist, training for numbers of years, practicing for over 7 years by now. I am still working on that too. So if any of you listening to this talk and you feel like that's me, oh, I'm so bad, that's me. I experienced trauma. I'm so bad. I cannot get through it. Hey, I'm also living that. I'm also working on that, and just make yourself aware on that. I really remember. I think I've keep on working on that too. That there are just those people that who are very close to me, that whenever they say things, I notice that when other people are saying exactly the same word, exactly the same time, exactly the same sentence, I will be just chill. I'll be like, oh, okay, I make mistakes. But just those certain people who are just talking in a very casual way with the same sentence, with the same word, I will be just got triggered, and I'll go like, why are you saying that to me, with a like very high tone, and easily triggered. And I still work on that a lot, very much on that as well. And then what I would say is, if you experience trauma, if you experience what we've been talking with Kevin, you are not alone. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm a traumatologist. I work with that, and I work that on a day-to-day basis. What about your experience, Kev?
Yeah, I mean, I cannot deal with people who talk too loud, who are very condescending, because that reminds me of something, of some past experience when I was thrown into this panic mode. What should I do? What should I do? I don't know what. So I cannot deal with that. And I have had also my own sessions. I do quite a lot of, I join a lot of spiritual direction sessions with my spiritual directors. And I realize that helps me to, revisit certain scenes, to see what is the impact on me and what is happening within me, what needs to be healed. And sometimes we just need to hold this little Kevin inside me. I need to protect this. There's one side of me that is quite nurturing, but there is one side of me that is very wounded. And I will help myself by letting the nurturing side of me to nurture the wounded side of me.